The little epistle of John, the third one, which we hardly ever seem to pay attention to, has these words: Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers. I rejoice greatly when brethren came and testified of the truth that is in you, just as you walk in the truth. For I have no greater joy than to hear that my children walk in truth. Now, this was to a man named Gaius. He was in one of the churches that John was over. We don't know for sure where. But at any rate, we notice that he loves the truth, he walks in the truth, lives in the truth, is a person of truth. And that is an atmosphere that is alien to the overall environment. Meaning, here was a man who lived in a world of deceit, fraud, sin, evil, wickedness, hatefulness, everything opposite to God, nothing that was God-like. Yet he was a man of truth and walked in truth. And so we really see, in one sense, two environments. There's the greater environment that we all have to live in, but then there's kind of the separated environment that we as believers in Christ can live in. And in fact, we have to live in it. The thing we always have to remember, while this world is terribly wicked and everything about it pulls me in the direction opposite that God would have us go, there is, and it's like the old hymn, an Isaac Watts hymn, asks the question, is this vile world a friend to grace to help me on to God? The answer is no. Yet it's in that world that God saved us. It is in that same environment that he calls us to live, and it's that same wicked environment into which he sends us. He has never willed that we withdraw and become no part of the culture in which we live. He sends us into that same culture in order to rescue out of that culture others just like he rescued us. So in the middle of all that, there's a thought that I have from longtime friend and fellow pastor, Glenn Boring. Just gives a little thought of the first men walking on the moon. They were in an atmosphere where you can't live. It was an atmosphere of no oxygen. You couldn't live in it. But they took their own environment with them. They were able to live in a completely alien and lifeless world because they took oxygen with them. And in a completely contained suit and so forth, they could live in a completely inhospitable environment. That's exactly what Jesus calls us to do. This world is no friend to grace. You can't live in it. Spiritually, you cannot survive in this world. Yet he sends me right into that same world with his Spirit-inspired and created personal environment that he's with me. And so I have oxygen. I have spiritual life while I minister to a dead world. I think it's a good thought that God, he never ever pulls us out of the world. And he said in his great high priestly prayer, he said, I don't pray that you take my disciples out of the world, but that you would keep them. That's what God's able to do. Not remove us, preserve us. So as we walk with God every day, we can maintain life in a dead environment. There's victory through Christ.